really busy.
Richard, Matt.
So while we're waiting for people to hop on, today we're going to talk a lot about sellers. So I have a class that I taught, I don't know, must have been about 2 years ago. It's called SLAM, Seller Listing Agent Mastery. And we're going to talk about everything from the conversations with sellers all the way through to actually getting the property listed and sold. I know that Katerina actually has a listing presentation this afternoon. So I'm hoping that she can join us.
Look at Tobe, he looks all cool in his sunglasses.
Tobe, you look cool.
He doesn't even look like him. I know.
I think he might be frozen.
It's just a picture.
Not frozen.
Well, he's smiling.
He's probably hanging out with us. It's just a little delay.
Eric is asking about the Zoom link. Yes, it is in the company calendar.
We're all waiting for you.
We are waiting for you. Okay, well, while we're waiting for Eric, will you send him the Zoom link, please? Okay, so let me share my screen.
Sure.
How is everyone doing? Is everyone busy? How are you guys feeling about? Are your buyers? Is it just as hard as it has been? Like, have there been any changes as far as getting our offers accepted? Bless you.
Basically changed their mind about buying a house in Florida in the last 2 weeks. I've had 4 people tell me they changed their mind.
Really?
They thought taxes, they didn't realize how high taxes were.
Right.
Homeowners insurance.
Okay.
I literally.
Wait, you had 4 people that changed their mind.
Yes.
That have been looking.
Really?
Carolinas.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, they didn't know. This guy they were looking to buy a place down here. The one in particular,
So-
458 pulled his offer when they found out how much taxes.
He pulled his offer.
And they found out how much tax and property insurance were.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen, when property prices and values go up, the taxes go up too. But the good thing is we don't have income tax.
Yeah, the problem is when they look things up and they see, like they looked at this, it was a
Yes.
400, oh, the taxes are $2,000. I know they're gonna go up, they're gonna go up to like
Right.
$3,000-$4,000, and I'm like, no, that's like 2%.
Right.
Well, that's $8,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, does everyone know how to use the property tax calculator tool on the property appraiser site?
Why-
Well, there's an app that you could, there's on the property appraiser site, you can actually plug in the expected sales price that will give you an estimate of the following year's
And
taxes.
you can adjust it for homestead.
Does anyone want me to do that, or do you guys all know how to do it?
You should do it.
So what you do is you pull up the property appraiser for the Palm Beaches. So you go to Papa. So this is Papa, if you've never been. What is that? Do you remember the property address? Does anybody have an offer I can plug in?
3706 Bridgewood Drive.
3706
Bridgewood Drive.
Bridge. What? Okay, so let's assume.
Oh, that's low taxes.
So this property has not been sold since 2002. Now, let's assume this property is being listed and there's a buyer that's making an offer. What you do is you go to the bottom where it says property tax calculator.
It's listed for 450.
And let's assume it sells for 450. Is there going to be a homestead exemption? Are the people
Yes.
purchasing it planning on living there full time? So if they plan on living there full time, you click yes for the homestead exemption. And then these are the approximate taxes. With the homestead exemption, 7,600, and without 85. So for 4,500, for a house that costs $450,000, that's a little, what, about a 1.5%,
It's almost it's close to it.
close to 2.
Yeah.
Now, if they live here, around here, they can do that portability thing. That's
Right.
what.
Yes.
So, where they can.
Thank you for calling Society Las Olas. For leasing and management, please
You
press
guys,
1.
your phone's on
For the
mute.
concierge desk, please press 2. For maintenance, emergency.
Well, that's only so many county, what county is that in? I knew it used to only be in Broward, is that?
No, you
Palm
can,
Beach?
since you're in the state of Florida,
In
you
the
can do it.
state?
You can do it
Yeah,
in the state of
portability is in the
Florida.
state of Florida.
It's in
I
the state
have
of
the
Florida.
information, I can send it
So
out.
say
Yeah.
you bought a house for $300,000 now, or $600,000, that the difference, you get to carry that with you to your next house. You're gonna be you have to get taxed on your old rate.
Right.
That $300,000 profit is factored in going forward. So if you buy a $600,000 house, you're not gonna get taxed, you're gonna get taxed at $300,000.
I always send the
Okay.
affordability information to my buyers and sellers when
Oh,
they.
yeah, that'd be good to have, Courtney.
Yeah.
Okay, so-
I'll send it to you.
Thanks, Court. Okay, so I'm gonna get started on the seller course, but before I do, I want to give everyone a big round of applause because I don't know if you guys saw, but we were voted a top workplace, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you. It's about your workplace, and this is because you guys all gave us really great ratings. That's where this comes from. It's coming from internally. So if you haven't yet seen our posts, we just posted about this. You can absolutely post about it yourself. And again, congratulations. It's pretty cool to be part of a company where we all feel strongly and feel good about our work environment. So congratulations. Quick $1 million dinner update. These are the people that have deals. Oh, sorry. This is a $1 million deal challenge. This is anyone with a deal over $1 million. So Nicola, congratulations for, I think that just got executed. Was it on Friday or maybe it was yesterday?
Friday.
Friday. Cool. Well, congrats, Nicola.
Thank you.
Also wanted to welcome Drew. So Drew is our new operations manager. He's going to be taking over all of the payroll and a lot more. So if you have any questions about everyone's should be up to date. If you have any questions about it, Drew's sitting in the front. A couple of reminders. Please make sure that you complete your closing cover sheet. It's on the internet or on the PLA, and that triggers us to look for the wire, make sure that we know where the money is coming from. We are going to remove the payroll email, so please don't use that email anymore. If you need to reach out to Drew, you can reach him at Drew@Premier Listings or via Slack. I also want to make sure everyone knows that when you guys have a closing, from a compliance perspective, there is a checklist in Transaction Desk. So please make sure that you move the file over correctly. So for example, you have a closing disclosure, you have to move it into the correct location on that checklist. There also are 4 fields that are required in the detail section. So when we get that check, what we do is we go into back office, which is our accounting software, and we look for the file, 123 Main Street. If those 4 fields were not filled out, we can't find the file. So make sure you go to the details section and complete those 4 fields, which I believe are offer date, closing date, purchase price, and property type. Somebody got a question? No questions about that? Cool. Okay, let's get started talking about sellers. This is kind of an older presentation, so you can see my old graphics before I had professional help. All right, so there are 5 steps when you are listing and selling a property. The first is the pre-list. Second is the listing presentation. You service and market it, you offer and you negotiate, and then of course you go to close. So you follow those 5 steps, you close your listings. So I want to talk about the first one, which is pre-listing. So here's the deal. In order for us to get more listings, it's quite simple. All we need to do is find the people that have houses to sell. And the way that we do that is talk to more people. So if you haven't already been talking about it, everyone knows we are in a very unique market, right? Sellers have all the power. It's a very strong sellers market. So if you haven't yet spoken to everyone you know, now's a great time to do it. Talk to everyone you can. This is a little example. When you tell people that you have a mission or, hey, hey, Mark, I'm trying to get more listings this year. We're on a goal with my office to get 100 listings. Do you know anybody buying or selling? When you start the conversation that way, it often leads to referrals. So that's one suggestion. Other things you can do is you can ask questions. How do you like living in this neighborhood? Do you love your home? Have you ever thought about selling? Is there a price that would make you want to sell? All of these questions are good questions to ask so that you can, again, just kind of start that conversation about what it's like to be in this market right now and the fact that we are in a strong seller's market. Again, if you really simplify it, what it comes down to is the great agents are the people that talk to more people, right? Don't need to make it more complicated than that. Our leads are a way for you to talk to more people. Okay, so now that you've got someone interested, what do? So the first thing you want to do is you want to, of course, ask for the appointment. We do have a pre-listing information sheet, which is a great way to make sure that when you're going to this appointment, that you have what you need. So for example, let me click on this. Oopsies. Okay, the pre-listing info sheet. is here. So this just reminds you about important questions to ask them before you show up. So one of the most important questions is this one. Anyone that is part of the decision needs to be present at the listing appointment. Has anyone ever gone to a listing appointment and then let's say the wife says, oh, well, you know what, Claudia, thank you so much for spending the last 5 hours here. And I really appreciate all the information you've done, but my husband's not here and I'm just not gonna be able to sign today. Has that ever
happened?
That happened to me last week.
What happened?
That.
I went on a listing appointment, I talked to her, great, we did everything, she changed the numbers, whatever, the commission.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, my husband's not gonna be here till Memorial Day weekend, so I want to list with you, but I'm gonna wait till he gets here,
Right.
so.
There's nothing worse than that. And the reason why is your chance of getting that listing signed after you meet with them on that first appointment, it goes down like enormously. So the goal is always to ask that question. Had you asked that question, you might have been able to show up when the husband was there, in which case you would have had it signed and sealed and you would be done. The risk is, I've had this mistake happen too. I spent hours, I did the research, and then turns out the next day, oh, my husband wants to list with his buddy, his golf buddy. So you want to make sure you ask that question. So on this list of pre-listing questions, there are some things that you could ask prior to going. So Michael, I know we're going to meet next week when your husband's in town. I mean,
Well, it could be.
it could be. When your husband's in town.
Kyle, but no.
So when your husband's in town next week, I know we have an appointment set, but before I come in, let's talk a little bit about what would ideally be the time that you would actually move out of your home. Where are you planning on moving? So these are just some questions that you can kind of ask. You don't want to get too deep into the conversation because you do want to talk about the bulk of it when you're there, but at least it prepares you accordingly. But again, this is the most important question and I'm going to highlight it. So I recommend using this pre-listing list of questions prior to going to an appointment. Now, another thing you can do, we have an email template in Sync where you can simply use this template to confirm the appointment. And all it says is I look forward to meeting you and my goal is to get your house sold. So we do recommend, of course, confirming the appointment. Here's another big tip. The tip is if somebody says, well, Rhonda, I know you want to come next week, but how much do you charge? Do not answer that question. Oh, Jordana, thank you so much for asking. We can talk about all that when I come next week. Same thing goes. So when I ask about pricing, when I ask about what is your recommended list price, don't give out free information over the phone. They're just using you for it, right?
Yeah.
Plus, you can't recommend a list price until you see the house.
And you can't recommend a list price until you see the house.
So if they ask for a CMA, like I'm putting a lot of salaries I've been putting out, don't send it to them when you make an appointment to go to.
Yeah.
In person.
Yeah. So is everyone clear? If somebody asks you, Jeremy, what do you suggest I list my home for?
Oh, 650.
Let's try again. Jeremy, what do you recommend I list my home for?
Well, Jordana, I'm glad you asked that, but I think that's something we can cover when, we meet next week.
Okay, cool. So it'll just be me because my husband is out of town.
Oh, are you the only decision maker in this? Or?
Well, no, my husband needs to sign too, and he's the one that calls all the shots.
Okay, well then maybe we should wait till he gets back in the following week.
Oh, you know what? I hadn't even thought about that. You're right.
Perfect.
Cool. All right.
If they're not both there, a lot of things will get lost in translation.
100%. Pop quiz. What is the best way to get an appointment?
Ask.
That's right. You ask. My next question. What do top producing agents do?
Make more calls.
Talk to people.
Yeah, all those, they do all that. They talk to people. Okay, now that we've done our pre-listing, everyone, I'm hoping, has a better idea, asking some questions. You want to make sure the right people are there. What do you do with the actual listing presentation? So there's lots of things you can do. First, before you go, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think yes. I want you, we're thinking yes. I want you to get into that mindset. I want you to imagine them signing. I want you to practice all of those things to get that listing. Because remember, your goal, do not leave that appointment without getting them to sign it. And you've already asked about all the right people being there, the people that need to sign, and you are now closing your eyes and you are manifesting them signing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If since we're really kind of like in a digital age, if they weren't in town, would we be able to do, because I remember us doing kind of a virtual thing for our people.
Yeah.
And or can we do something like virtual when it comes to the presentation and just if they're ready to sign, have them electronically sign it?
Absolutely. So, first of all, Roni, and I don't know if you guys know this about me, but if you don't, I'm a witch. And so I just a second ago thought, where's Roni? And then all of a sudden Roni asked a question. Anyway, Roni, thank you for that. And I missed.
I did not know what I was yelling.
Well, I got to keep you on your toes, right? Anyway, so here's the deal. The answer is absolutely. It's a great question. And Roni and I, maybe a couple of years ago now, right? Was probably what, 2-3 years ago. We had a seller.
During the pandemic,
Oh, it was it
'cause
during?
I was here too, yeah.
Was it during the pandemic, Roni, that we did that with
It
Michael
was
Gilbert?
like, yeah, it was like as soon as the pandemic hit, it was like March.
Okay, so we get the seller lead, and because of the pandemic, we weren't able to go, and we did.
It was
do
actually a buyer lead. turned
Oh,
into-
sorry, you're right. And by the way, side note, what are the best leads? What's the best form of a seller lead?
Buyer.
That's right, because the buyer's often up to sell. Did you give him that answer? Oh. Okay, anyway, so Roni, to answer your question, you can absolutely do your listing appointments virtually. It's more and more common each and every day. Oh, hi Kyle, I saved you a seat. So yes, you can do it virtually. And to answer your question about getting them to sign it, I don't really even know, is the best way to do it to send it to them digitally? I guess that if they're not physically with you, I think the answer is yes. Could you share a screen and have them like click through with you there? That might be awkward. So I think yes, you would send it to them electronically.
Or both.
You could even pull it up on your screen and show them the listing agreement.
You could go through it like this, and you could explain it, and then also send it to them so they can look over it later.
Exactly. Okay, so now that you've got this listing appointment, a couple things. First of all, you're going to arrive early. Second of all, you're going to thank them, and then you're going to ask to tour the home. Now, this is actually something that is, I don't want to say controversial, but there's different ways that realtors do it, right? You can either say, you know what, Rhonda, let's sit down first at your kitchen table and talk about listing, or you can tour the home. I tend to be a little bit more of the let tour the home.
Yeah.
Get them comfortable, they're going to tell you so many things as they walk through. You want to walk through, you want to take those notes. Oh, really? What year was the air conditioning? And make sure you're taking notes and say all good things about it. Absolutely. And also not only say good things, but also give them tips. So you can say things like, you know what, Sherry, I love all the photos you have of your grandbabies, but I do recommend removing that kind of personal touch so that somebody can come in and envision their own family in this home. So as you go, absolutely tour the home, get them comfortable. The other thing that I think is really critical, when you first open that door, right? So there is this, I don't remember her name. There's this listing agent who has this incredible, she's not here. I think she's somewhere up north, but she has this strategy that when she knocks on the door for the listing appointment, and as soon as they open the door, she says, when are you signing my listing agreement? I can't wait to sell this house. And they laugh because it's kind of awkward, but she gets every listing. And part of that is because of the confidence and because of, you kind of have to go in and say, I'm here. Actually, I think it's my next slide. Maybe stop. Oops. I don't know where it is, but it's in here somewhere. I guess it's about establishing credibility, right? And saying, and having that confidence of, I can't wait to sell this home. And it's almost that like psychologically getting them into the, Howard, I'm here to sell your home today. So let's get this listing agreement signed. And you're like, wait, Jordana, I didn't even, hello, you want to come inside? So it kind of like almost breaks she uses it almost like as an icebreaker. And I don't know that you need to do that, but you do need to show confidence and excitement and enthusiasm. Kyle, this is the most beautiful home I've ever seen. I cannot wait to list it. Right, that's all helpful. So,
Yeah.
What?
I love all the lacquer furniture.
right.
I was telling my wife, we should put glass windows in all over.
So we do have a listing presentation. We have a couple different versions. We are mid redesign. So Desiree just yesterday sent me the first draft of the outline. So I'm not going to go into the presentation in depth today, but and some people, by the way, use them. Some people don't. For those of you that have done listing or appointments, do you usually use a formal presentation or do you just talk?
I'm a talker.
You're a talker. Have you tried it with the listing? Is it just not as?
I haven't tried anything in Florida, but no, I never. Missouri's a different animal.
Yeah.
It's all about.
The one I went to, she was a realtor in New York, and she looks at me, she goes, skip all the bullshit. You guys all do the same thing.
Exactly.
She goes, I don't care about any of that crap. I care about you.
Right.
And then she started asking, she actually started interviewing me. She
Oh,
didn't
that's
care about any
good.
of that else.
Okay.
She asked me, different questions of how I'm gonna handle the
Yeah.
house, can I negotiate, and that type of stuff. So I guess everybody's different.
I think everybody is different. You have to follow their
Right.
lead. So if you show up to that appointment and you have this like fancy listing presentation and you're all ready to like show her and take over, I would probably change that strategy the minute she starts interviewing me. Let her take control.
Yeah. Oh,
Now,
okay.
another seller might expect you to take control. So you absolutely have to kind of feel the other person out, what's going to be comfortable for them. But I do think whether you are using a presentation or you're not, you have to establish credibility and confidence. And you also want to do certain things that are going to make us stand out. So I don't know if Yanni's on the line. I went with him to a listing presentation. And what we did was during that listing presentation is I used an actual presentation, but I used it really more as a guide. And I skipped through things that I was able to just talk about without having to have the reminder in front of me. But then there was a part where I wanted to make myself stand out. So I talked about some of the digital marketing things that we do. I talked about, I think we even had the website already built for them. We talked about reverse marketing. I talked about these things. I talked about technology, right? So I tried to make myself stand out from realtors who might not talk about those things. Because I do think that it does matter who you are as an individual. And I think that's important to express because they're going to work with you if they like you.
Right.
But I also think that at the same time you're doing that, if you're prepared and you have bullet points and reminders of certain things that are going to make you stand out, you want to make sure you say those things too. And when we are done with our listing presentation, you might skip and take out, let's say there's 15 pages. You might just say, you know what, let's go right to page 13. Let me show you a little bit about our technology. And maybe you need a reminder in front of you to help walk you through some of the tools that we use to get their listing more exposure. Because they are going to ask you that, Kyle, how can you make my listing stand out right now? So the next thing you want to do, so what I normally do is explain a little bit about me, it's about the marketing process, and then I take out a CMA. I actually show them. So there are CMAs. Oh, don't we have a CMA class?
Coming up, yes, June 15th.
So if you're not, if you haven't yet marked your calendar for that, please plan to attend. This is the part of your listing presentation where you're going to show them all the work that you did. So Kyle, these are the most 3 similar homes currently on the market. These are the most similar homes that I've already sold. This is where I suggest we list it. Now that you've gone over the comps and gone over your CMA, that is the perfect transition to take you into, okay, Claudia, so we just did that. As we agreed, the right price is $459. So I'm going to just mark that price in here. So I usually take a listing with agreement. I don't put the price in. I wait until we agree. Then I write it in. And then I take my pen and I hand it to Claudia. Here, you could just sign right there at the bottom. So you're actually like, it would be almost awkward for her not to sign if I'm handing her a pen, right? So you want to kind of like walk her through that process. I do have a sample listing agreement where everything is linked, by the way, and I can send you guys this presentation, but I walk you through exactly how to complete the listing agreement, right? The tax records. So you can put all this stuff in prior to. The part that I wouldn't put in is the price. I want to make sure everyone knows this is where the commission, it's the total commission being paid. So you do not put, if you are, let's say we're collecting 3% for the listing side, you don't put 3 here. It's 3 and 3, which is a total of 6. Section 9 is where you put the cooperating amount. Cool.
You could change the 395 to 495.
Yeah, this is old. Does anybody have any questions about a listing agreement?
So
I always add
Brony, you're cutting out a little. It's a little. Are you at the beach?
No, I'm outside of my mother's. She's doing some rehabilitation like center over here, so I'm outside.
Okay.
But I always add. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I always add the transaction fee in there also.
Yes. So up here where it's 6, right here.
Yeah, I just make it part of the contract so that way they don't, have to deposit it later.
Absolutely. Mike, you got a question?
So do you go, when you show up with you said not to put in the price, so do you put actually put the commission in there?
Yes.
Or do you write it there? Well, I guess with with it printed in there, or do you write the number?
No, I usually write it. I usually tell them I charge 3%. I recommend we offer 3% to the co-broke.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you know
No one
what?
else does.
Sorry?
I said no one else
Right,
does.
and then of course, if they ask for, if they say something about that, you know what we can do is we can offer 2.5. And then if they even continue to ask for more, it's a negotiation, right? And I do recommend standing firm and
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
I'm gonna be firm, my 3% is my 3%. If you wanna pay 5, we can absolutely offer 2% right now to the other agents, because there's a lot of competition in this neighborhood. It depends on the property, right? If you know that property, the very next day is gonna have 15 offers, 2% is not gonna make a difference between 2.5, but don't necessarily immediately lower your commission.
I lower the other agent.
Yeah.
Because
You
I
can-
always work harder.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
You're paying for photos, you're owning up.
I always work harder.
Right.
So
And the best response is, Michael, I'm gonna list your home and I'm gonna negotiate just as firmly as I'm gonna negotiate for my own commission. And I charge 3%. Nobody will ever say no when you say it like that. Okay, let's keep going. Any other questions from Zoom?
Be confident.
Be confident. So, expectations. Okay, so now that you've signed. Okay, Michael, so thank you so much for signing. I'm gonna hand you the seller's disclosure. Now, by the way, the seller has to fill it out. You can't. There's legality involved, because the seller has to be the one who's actually writing in anything they want to disclose. It prevents a lawsuit from after closing. So Michael, I'm going to leave you with this disclosure. I'll come back next week to pick it up. Just go through and look up and answer the questions. When is the best time for us to schedule photos? Because before I come for photos, I'd love to get the property professionally cleaned. I'd love to have some of the personal items removed. Like I recommended, I wanted you to remove all of your dolls from your doll collection. Yep. So let's schedule the photos for next week. And by the way, Michael, how do you want to coordinate showings? I know you live here full time, so there's a couple ways we can do it. You can either open the door and wait in the driveway. So that's the right time for you to talk about the showings. And then I also recommend using a listing form for you to get the information you need. Oh, the file has been deleted. So what this form is, which I have elsewhere, it's a form where you can keep track of all the things that you're going to need to know. The year the roof was built, the air conditioning, and were there permits pulled, any other information that materially affects the value of the home. You have to have it, and you have to have it written down.
And if they don't know, you can find the permits online too.
If they don't know, you can also find the permits online. We can pull what's called a build fax report, which CJ can pull, and it tells you if were any permits pulled. So again, now, your seller has signed. You're not just, okay, bye. You have to actually ask these questions: showings, photos, the walkthrough form, and disclosure. Cool. Okay, so let's summarize. You are showing up at the appointment. My goal today is to sell your home. I can't wait. You're going to go over the listing presentation, set the price, get the listing agreement signed. And the last step is, before I leave today, let's talk about showings and your disclosure and photos. Any questions? Does anybody who does listing presentations have anything that they do differently or that they want to add? Does this cover it?
Like a seller's net sheet would be good too.
Absolutely.
Seller's net.
So what do you,
I don't know. Sometimes,
sometimes it complicates things.
or they don't say that they have a second mortgage or a HELOC on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a couple ways you can handle the seller net sheet. So in Palm Beach County, the seller is the one that chooses the title company. So what we could do is suggest that when we set them up with title, that we will be able to provide a preliminary closing disclosure that will give an explanation of what they'll be taking home,
Right.
which is their net.
Yeah.
You can use the app,
Yeah, that's very
but
good.
it's very important that you explain that those numbers are subject to change. It's based on the closing date and all types of different prorations. So I do think, Rhonda, I sort of agree with you that during the listing presentation, if they ask about what they're going to net, then yes. But I think that your goal really is to talk about marketing the home, is talk about getting the listing agreement signed at the right price. As far as what they're going to walk away with, if they're not necessarily asking you to specify that, it can actually open a can of worms about, like you just said, maybe they have a HELOC or maybe they have a second mortgage.
I've done is use the JK closings app.
Mhm.
If they ask you,
When they ask me, and I said, I'll plug it into my app and let's see what it comes up with.
right, that's a great,
I do think though it is very important because I've had a situation,
Uh-huh.
that whenever getting a listing, have them request a payoff amount from their bank,
yes.
Mhm.
because.
Not
that-
what's on their statement, is it?
Exactly.
Isn't the same.
Payoff it.
So that's a
Or
good
if
point.
there's
So
prepayment
as you're
penalty in
leaving,
there,
and
you
part of
know
your
that.
expectations might say, you know what, Rhonda, before I leave today, I want to recommend also in the next week or two, call your mortgage lender and ask them for a payoff statement. So we can get that over the title and get you an accurate net sheet.
Mhm.
And also make it clear to them, it's not the same number when you go online to pay.
Yeah.
Right.
I've had a situation where we were going to do that. I said those exact words. They didn't listen. They went ahead and got it offline. When they actually got the payoff amount, they found out it was actually 80 grand more than they thought they were.
Really?
Oh, hey, that's a pretty big discrepancy.
fine.
I've seen like several $1,000s. I've never seen anything
So-
like that.
I also like it if someone says, you know, Howard, what am I going to walk away with? So that's your response is, well, what is your payoff? And if they were like, oh, I think it's this, you absolutely want to say, well, I can't give you an accurate payoff. So they're looking at you to give them an accurate number when they don't even know what they owe. So it's a great way to answer their question, but also make sure that they know that it's not going to be, because if they say, well, Howard, you told me when we had a listing presentation, I'm going to walk away
That's
with
what
this.
happens.
You have to be careful. So your response is almost to push it back on them. Well, Kyle, before I answer that, do you know what your payoff is? And then Kyle says, oh, well, on my mortgage statement, I owe this. Yes, but it is different. So I do recommend, once we get this listing agreement signed, you know, next week I'll come back and I'll get that payoff statement from you, but go ahead and sign right now, because that's kind of what your goal is. Okay, Juan, thank you. That's a very good point. Nancy, I think you had a comment about something about your listing presentations.
Yeah, I usually walk in with a lockbox and I will leave them with the lockbox disassembled and say, here's your tag for your key, stick it in this and put this on your door.
I
Yeah.
love that. What a
Love it.
great,
Yes.
what a great like tactic for like
Yes.
showing confidence. Like I'm showing up today and I know I'm going to get the listing. So here's my lockbox. I love that. I really love that. Never heard that.
No, never heard that.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else have anything they want to share about what they've done that's worked?
It's probably not relevant in this market, but in the markets where the sellers think their home is worth way more than it is.
Well,
I never write the listing price on. I say, you write that price on there. And then we're
oh,
gonna write an addendum when we don't have any showings in the first 2 weeks or any offers, that we're gonna lower it by this much every 2 weeks until we get to the price that I suggest.
yeah.
Showing
Wow.
the numbers. and
Yeah.
It's not relevant now because people will pay anything.
No. I actually do. I think that is relevant because I do think sellers are trying to list even higher than what people will pay. So I think that's a great tactic. I also want to say that your goal during that listing appointment is, especially in this market, is to get the listing. If somebody is trying to list super duper high, I would still get it. Here's why. If a week passes and you have not had a single phone call, it's a lot easier. You already have the listing. It's a lot easier to go back and say, Sherry, it's been a week. I know we tried it, but what do you think about having a reduction? So we had to get more calls, right? That's the goal. And I would use numbers. And I would say in this market, we're averaging about 7 showings the following day after you list a property. We haven't had 1. So that tells me we're overpriced, but it's easier to do it after you've listed it and there's proof that they haven't had a single showing. You know, so make sure that you're
True, but then the psychology also of having a price reduction after a week.
yes,
It nullifies your position.
it does, but that's only if the seller won't sign otherwise.
Exactly.
So if you can help them see that they shouldn't list too high from the start, that's absolutely your best
Better
strategy.
almost to underlist in this
Oh,
market.
you're better to I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Because underlisting is going to get people are almost so used to coming in way over.
Mhm.
I couldn't agree with you more. Right now, for those of us that are taking listings, you want to make that suggestion. You want to call you want to cause a frenzy. You want 25 offers and you want people going in way asking, because it becomes just a crazy emotional situation. When Tove and I when Tove relist the Pilo property, we closed on it last week. It's going to be a Green Acres townhome in about 320 to 30. My plan is listed low. I want people to come in way over and get everyone really excited about it. Okay, let's keep going. How am I doing on time? I don't think I have.
Oh, it's 11:05.
Okay, so pop quiz. Did I not bring my cell phone? I didn't. What is the most important part of the listing appointment?
Signature.
That both the people are there.
Yeah, all true, all true.
Fine if you don't have both people.
But that's not what this,
Showing
Yeah,
confidence.
it's on.
yes, it's the first thing you say. It's establishing credibility and confidence. When you first walk in, that's the most important thing is I'm going to sell your home for you today, Michael. I told you guys that story about the friend that I helped when it was a referral, and I called him up and said, I am going to do a damn good job for you, and I'm going to negotiate like you wouldn't believe. And you know, months after we closed, he was like, the only reason I work with you is because the first thing you said out of your mouth, I couldn't believe it. Like, you impressed me. It was memorable. Okay. Do you answer questions about price when you first walk in?
No.
I don't know what I put. I don't know why I put that. That makes no sense. But okay, I guess not. No, because you want to walk through the property first. Oh, I do have a list of questions that you can ask during your listing appointment. Now, this list of questions is going to help you kind of uncover their true goals and their true ambition, not ambition, motivation. So needs versus wants, questions about the process, what's most important. You want to also talk a little bit about, you know, Claudia, as we list your home, do you want me, how often do you want updates? Do you want me to call you, you know, weekly and give you those updates? Or because the seller might say to you, don't bother, I'm so busy right now. So you want to make sure that you're kind of clarifying, because once you get that listing signed, now your goal sort of transitions. Yes, it's about selling, but it's also about it's keeping them happy, and you want the referrals. So you want to say, Claudia, and I've had sellers say to me, Jordana, please don't even bother sending me those emails. I'm not going to read them. So you want to ask those questions. You know, what do you expect during that process? So this is an interesting strategy. This is a strategy of top listing agents. They use these index cards, and they write certain things on these cards, and then they pick one at random and they practice going into that one pitch. So for example, if someone says, well, Jordana, tell me about you. So they practice it. Or Jordana, what are the comps for this home? Or do you have any recent testimonials? Or what do you do to market it? Because if you get those questions, which we all know people will ask us that, right? So this gives you a nice way to practice on the fly, just these specific topics that people are going to ask during a listing presentation. This is what I was trying to get to before. The open with the close, right? They open the door and the first thing you say is, yeah, it's nice to meet you. I cannot wait. Or it's just showing up with a lockbox. That is the epitome of opening with a close. You want to build your rapport. Show them, don't tell them. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go over obstacles unless you guys want me to, but I don't know that I'll be able to get through all of it in 10 minutes. Kyle says no.
Why are you so mean, Kyle? She will like really.
I'm not throwing you under the bus. I don't mind at all. I know this. I'm trying to help you guys. Okay, so we have now just secured our listing. Yay! We want to service and market it. So here are some suggestions. So the number one most important thing during your listing is that you communicate. So from the very beginning, you want to set and manage expectations. You want to create peace of mind. They're going to be stressed out, right? You want to be professional, be credible, and maintain transparency. So the ways that you do that, I have a template of an email that I wrote and just explains your listing is live. It gives them links to the listing. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Powerful. I put it on YouTube. These are some other pages I did. Put it on Zillow, and I showed them exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, I've used this before. It's really nice.
So it's just a very basic template that once the listing goes live, you simply just are telling them it's live, right? It's simple, but if you don't tell them that it's live, they might not know. I mean, you said you were going to list it, but they don't know that it was done or not. So again, this is just ensuring that your seller feels that you're communicating clearly throughout the entire process. I also recommend every Friday, a Friday feedback. This is the number of showings. This is the feedback we've received. This also was this presentation, and this does assume that you're going to have a traditional marketing period. Right now, we're not really operating. So you might not even get the chance to. But theoretically, just for your knowledge, if you do have a listing that's been on the market, you do want to be in touch at least weekly, unless they told you otherwise. Don't email me weekly. I'm busy in XYZ. I just want it sold. I'm going to skip this part. So throughout the process, one of the most important things, believe it or not, is answering your phone call, your phone, right? You'd be amazed at, sellers are calling their listing agent. Listing agent doesn't answer the phone.
Well, I wouldn't be amazed at that at all. They don't answer for showing.
Right,
so.
exactly. So all of these things that are going to help you service the listing correctly by simply being there to communicate. Okay, let's talk a little bit about offers. So when you get offers, everyone knows we are transaction brokers. Our goal is to bring the buyer and the seller together, right? So we talked a little bit about this last week, if you're allowed to say the price or not. If you remember and think about your intentions to bring them together to meet, it makes it a little bit easier. So when you are presenting your offers to the seller, and again, I'm not sure that, well, maybe this is happening. If an offer comes in low, do not say to the seller, Michael, this offer came in low, but here it is. Instead say, Michael, we have an offer for you. Can we talk about it? And then you don't give them that judgment prior to them even reading it, right? Don't say things like, Claudia, I know you're not going to like this offer. Why would you start that way? Or this isn't what you want, but instead just give them the facts. The offer is this, they're putting down this %. They want to close here. And then you stop talking. We are transaction brokers. Our goal is not to say anything about, I know they're going to come up, or, we could get more, or we could probably, you don't know, you don't own the property, they do. They're the ones that have to tell you where to go. So I want you guys to be so careful when you present offers. Please do not insert your opinion. Do not insert your judgment. That is not your job. If they ask you, oh, I don't know, Michael, what do you think? Okay, well, they're asking you. So you could say, you know what, Jordana, I actually think that we can absolutely counter. And I think this, that, the other. You can say that. But when you're presenting the offer, you are not going in with the you're not trying to change their opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like steering.
It's almost like steering, exactly. Any offer is positive. Other things that you can say, I like this a lot. If we put the price aside, right? What else is important to you? Because what you're trying to do is get them to agree on other terms, maybe the closing period, maybe the inspection period, maybe the terms. So sometimes it's helpful if you have a buyer and seller that can't see eye to eye to say those words. Let's put the price aside for a second and let's talk about the other terms. Because then you're psychologically almost like pushing them along that process. I also want to be clear that when you are negotiating, every single word you say matters. Every word you say to the other agent matters. So you have to be really careful about giving away too much, right? You don't want to tell them if your seller, even if you think your seller is unrealistic, don't tell that to them. Yeah.
Yesterday, I saw a property in Aventura, 489. And the realtor said to me, the sellers are in Brazil. During COVID, they lose their passport. They cannot come anymore. And that's why they decided to sell.
Yeah.
Hello. I mean.
Right. A lot of times agents will give away too much information. What time is it?
11:13.
It's roasting in here.
Yeah, you can turn the AC.
The air, somebody turns it up every day.
It says 78, that's right.
That's right. You're under, okay, so this actually, the next couple of tasks and slides we're talking about is actually how to take us through to closing. So if you're using Jessica, our transaction coordinator, she will do the opening email and complete all these tasks. But if you're not, I do have a list of things that happen.
Just getting back to the offer for a second.
Yeah.
If you have multiple offers, would you put it on a spreadsheet and present it that way so that they see the price, they see the term?
Yeah.
What the inspection periods are for the.
Yeah.
offers?
You want to answer that? Or I thought you were, I thought you mean a set like a, maybe you should sit back there. So, okay. So Howard is asking, Howard is asking if you have multiple offers, should you put it on a spreadsheet? And I think you can, why not? I think it's a great way to do it and make it very clear. So, or you can also, old school way to do it is to go to their home and show them each of them and kind of lay it out for them. I think I would probably, it seems a little confusing. I would probably do the spreadsheet, absolutely. The other thing from back in my REO days, when I used to list all those bank-owned properties, we used to go back to every single offer and say, it's a multiple offer situation, come in with your highest to best. Now, I don't see that people are doing that.
Oh, yeah,
They're
that's the first thing they put on there, highest and best due by Monday.
Yep.
Yeah.
okay, good.
I just talked to an agent that had that in her remarks, and she said the board got on her and told her she wasn't supposed to be doing that.
No way.
So
So
not to be putting highest and best language in your broker remarks.
okay, so maybe not in broker remarks, but verbally, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Well, they
So-
change it to offers due by, but they don't put highest and best now.
exactly.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I've seen that.
Two open houses, no appointments and
No,
that's it.
no showings, you gotta
Right.
show it during the open house and that's it.
Right. I don't really blame them in the sense that it does become a little bit insane when you have, 120 showing requests.
It's also hard to look at the house with 20 other couples. there.
Yes, it is.
So I mean,
I
it's
did
a two-way
that
street.
for my place. I had a line of people,
And you made them wait.
I made each person wait till those people got to go sleep.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting time because in so many ways, it's a great time to be in real estate, but in so many ways, there's so much more work that we're doing. We're showing so many more houses, we're making so many more offers, we're fighting, right? So I want to, first of all, commend you guys because I know it's hard out there. And I also want to tell you guys to have the expectation that it is hard because it makes it a little bit easier that when you get your first offer and it's not accepted, it's okay, right? It unfortunately takes about 5 offers right now. It's kind of on average in order to get something accepted.
Thank God, I just went past 4, so maybe number 5.
Yes, number 5. I told you I'm a witch. I'm gonna make it happen.
I'm on 3. Gonna make.
You're on 3? Yeah. Well, congratulations. You are now a listing master. You've completed SLAM, or seller listing agent.
Who's that guy?
Master listing you are.
That's cute.
No, listing master you are.
Who's that guy?
As the listing master.
Who's that guy on there?
It's Yoda.
Yoda.
I was waiting for you,
Oh.
asking you.
Yoda.
Okay.
Oh, I made this presentation. Cool. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Is there any specific, I know that's kind of like a big overview, but I also like to teach that way so you kind of can see the whole process. Is there something specifically, a challenge that you had, something you want to talk more about, any part of the process that has been difficult?
And a reminder, we are doing seller lead practice every Thursday. We've been doing it and I've had a full room. So people are like getting into it and practicing.
Does anybody have any success stories that they can talk to us about listings and some of our seller leads? I know Jonathan and Peter have a seller that wants to list with them. Unfortunately, it's an MV situation, so that makes it challenging. So if you guys haven't heard, there's a company called MV Realty that does something called a
Right to list.
it's a right to list. And what they do is they pay sellers. They pay sellers in advance. And they say, here's $3,000 today for the right to list your home anytime in the future. And if you ever sell your home, we are owed 6%.
For 40 years.
40 years.
How is that legal?
Unfortunately, they're getting away with it. And so in this situation, so the irony is it is kind of messed up. And the irony is in this situation with this seller, the seller can't get this agent to call back. And so Jonathan and Peter are there at the house ready to go and they want to get the home listed and sold. It's a $2 million property. And the guy can't because he was paid $3,000 a couple of years ago and he's in a 40-year contract. And the other problem is that
But
40 years.
who he listed with won't answer his
Correct.
calls.
Well,
Wow.
it's the company's called MV. They're very close to us. Kyle used to work with them years ago. So we know them. I know the broker really well. And unfortunately, and by the way, this is something they're doing. If you Google it, they're doing it nationwide. So there was an article in Boston actually about a very unhappy seller that was tied in. Oh, sorry. They closed with another realtor and then they got sued and they had to pay 6%. So it's a tricky situation. And the worst part is that they won't even they won't even co-broke because they don't have to. Because, and understand though, the sellers received cash. So what would the seller, there is no such thing as a free lunch. It's what, right? Why would the seller,
Especially that much money.
especially that much money?
That's a lot of money.
Basically paying money for an option to sell their.
That's exactly right. They're paying money for an
It
option.
sounds like you sold your
Sounds like you waste a lot of money on
soul.
marketing. Let's just go around and start offering people money to sell their
I
house.
don't understand why anyone would do
That's
that.
what makes it, I can't understand that.
Yeah.
After they close a home.
Look how many people get scammed in this country every
When
day.
people think about it, it's like, I'm gonna get $3,000 now, I want to sell my house for 40 years. So they're worth
A 40-year contract.
Yeah.
It would be different. It's like,
I will
listen, if
tell
you guys
you,
sell in the next
once we're
24
not
months,
recording, I'll tell you
you
what
get the
really
right to sell it.
What
40 years
happened?
long.
Once we're not recording, I'll tell you.
Okay. So anyone, and actually, I don't know, Jonathan or Peter, do you guys want to talk a little bit about what's happening with that situation with that seller?
Yeah, so I mean, just like how you mentioned, he's reaching out to the agent from MB Realty, and the agent just keeps responding back that she's too busy to come by the house. So as it stands right now, we're trying to work and get him a bridge loan so we can go ahead and get started with the buying side, because he's downsizing. And then it gives us time to figure out this whole listing side so we can try to work and get our way in, ourselves in, if it's possible.
Got it.
What a mess.
Yeah, what a mess. Anyone else have any seller comments, questions, concerns?
When I went on this listing agreement, when the lady interviewed me, the first question she asked me, she goes, well, how do you handle multiple offers? I said, well, I submit them all to you. And she goes, well, what about if it's your own offer? Would you, well, she was basically saying if it was my client.
That's a great question. How did you handle it?
I said, well, I said, it's the law. I have to submit all offers to you. I submit all my offers without telling you who the agent is, and I give you the information to make the decision.
So I think you handled it perfectly. We can also
I
do,
see what you're saying.
Right,
Sorry,
yeah.
I was here.
but I do think that we can do, you can reduce your commission if you have both sides.
You have to disclose that in the MLS. A graduated commission, you do in Missouri.
I actually,
That's why I'm asking.
yeah, that's a great,
Only
I don't think you have to, right?
It's in the listing agreement. If it's in the listing agreement, then that's one thing. But from what I understand is that if it comes to you presenting 10 offers, and then this one is, hey, is this your client? Yeah, this is my client. Okay, I'm the seller. Would you reduce your commission if I did this? Then that's a conversation that just came up at that particular moment.
Right, but I'm saying a lot of sellers will ask you that in the beginning, hey, if you bring the buyer, instead of charging me 6, will you do the whole deal for 4.5?
Yeah, that's.
And if you agree to do that in writing, it has, in the state of Missouri, it has to be disclosed.
Okay,
in your broker.
I'll find out. That's a great, I actually don't think it has to.
But we will ask legal
Yeah, fine.
about that question. Nothing.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, it's just, you need your couch back. They call it graduate. Everyone else has to be disclosed.
Yeah, I don't think.
Got it.
Because then that tells the other agents, like, you know.
But I think you handled it well.
She was basically asking me if I would not submit an offer, if like it was my offer versus someone else's, if I would just like hide the other offer and just give her mine.
No, legally, you have to.
I know legally I have to, but I mean.
Don't say legally, I mean ethically, I think is the better way to
So I
say
guess
it.
people do that. I don't know. I mean, that would be something I would.
It's from New York, New Jersey, New York, we're all.
I mean, I just thought that's what we're supposed to do, so I put it in the paperwork.
Yeah.
That's what she asked me.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's a good answer though. but
Yeah, I think you handled it well. Well, I certainly hope that we get more listing presentations, that we talk about it more. And I hope this was helpful.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Turn it off, I want to hear.
I know.
Bye.